the strongest permission slip we can give to you or anyone with regard to the idea of contact is to tell you that all the appointments and all the agendas have already been made. There is nothing extra you need to ask for, nothing extra you need to do, but live your life to the fullest and act on your highest excitement, being who you truly are, because it's being who you truly are that will allow you to become the person with whom the appointment for contact has been made. And as soon as you simply allow yourself to be that person, absolutely nothing will prevent that contact from happening if such an appointment has been made, with one exception. If you spend time worrying that you'll miss the appointment, you will miss the appointment. That's the paradox. But all those things have already been set up, and so if you just get on about the business of living your life to the fullest and being who it is you are, there is absolutely nothing that will make you miss the appointment that has been set up. Make sense?
Yes.
This is how you allow yourself to understand that life already works, and all you have to do is allow it to work. You don't have to make it work. Understand the difference?
Yes.
Does that help you?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And besides which, you're having contact right now.
Of course.
Just because we are speaking in a sense or sending thoughts through a biological translator doesn't mean you're not having contact. You, the personality, the physical human, obviously comes from Earth. We know what you're asking when you say, where do I come from? But this question, in the way you're framing it, in the way many of you frame it, creates a misunderstanding about the idea of the nature of space and time. The idea is that all things exist at once. All lives are simultaneously coexistent. What you call the past and the future are illusions. They are simply different parallel realities that exist along with this life right now. You understand this so far?
Yes.
Therefore, if you understand the simultaneity of existence, then the question, where do I come from, in a sense, is pointless. The real question, the more precise question is, knowing that everything exists all at once and all these other concurrent lives exist simultaneously with this one, to what other lives am I creating a present connection that thus then allows me to download information from those other simultaneously concurrent lives that serves me here, even as those other simultaneously autonomous lives are downloading information from my experience that serves them in their lives? That's the question. So it's not really where do I come from. The idea is that you're making connections to other realities because that connection serves you. And in your way of thinking, when you think in terms of linear space and time, when you start now in this age of expanding your consciousness and recognizing more of who you are and that you're more than just this physical focus, you often make connections. You often realize the connections you have, and thus because of the linear perspective, you think, oh, well, now that I'm making that connection to this other place and it feels so much more like home, that must be where I come from. But the idea is that you're just sensing more of your being, and the idea is not to think of that so much as where you come from, as to think of it as the energy that represents what you can now bring down to Earth and act from, so that you can bring that energy into this reality and expand yourself accordingly, becoming your version on Earth of what you believe that life to represent. As we read your energy patterns, you have several different kinds of connections, of course, to many other kinds of Earth experiences, and at the same time, many of you now are making very strong connections to the Sirius star system, Arcturian energy, Pleiadian systems, Orion systems, to varying degrees, to varying recipes, shall we say, as befits the kind of experience and the kind of themes you are choosing to explore this life to be. So the idea is that you are now recognizing all of these other connections and can use that energy to create yourself to be whatever version you believe is more representative of the holistic version of your being that chose to explore a theme of being on Earth during this transformational age. Do you understand that I come from a civilization you would recognize as a hybrid civilization? we are one of the results of the genetic blending going on in what you call the abduction scenario to perpetuate their civilization. The beings that you call the Greys are not actually alien. They are a mutated race of humans from a parallel Earth who have destroyed their reality and cannot perpetuate their society without viable human DNA from parallel worlds that are still viable, such as yours. Thus, then, they have tunneled into your parallel reality, taken, with agreement on a higher level, genetic material that allows them to blend it with their own to create a new species, a hybrid species between you and them, of which we are one of the results. Thus, then, we are in many ways connected to you genetically. We are in many ways your offspring. You are in many ways our ancestors. And thus, then, we recognize that in making this agreement, you have given us the gift of life, and that's why we are here sharing with you in any way, shape, or form we can to help, because we are returning the gift of life to you that you have given to us. All of these have been done by agreement, even though many people may not remember this, even though they may be very scared in some of these scenarios, and even though many of the Greys do not necessarily have the emotional capacity to understand that they are scaring the bejesus out of a lot of you. They simply do not have that emotional capacity. However, many of them have learned. Now, again, the idea is to understand that this is all from agreement on a higher level, and what many people don't understand is that the beings that they often interact with in those abduction experiences are actually different versions of themselves in a different reality. So they're only extracting genetic material from versions of themselves in your reality. And that's why the agreement has been made, because in essence you could say it's actually the same soul. Make sense?
Yes.
Now, we are one of 5 hybrid civilizations that are the result of this particular agenda. The abductions, so to speak, to use that term, are really no longer happening as much. The program has now moved into an era of acclimatization. And what that means is that many of the progeny that are the result of those abduction experiences, many of the children that have been created as a result, will eventually actually be returned to Earth to live among you. At first in certain safe enclaves, and eventually out in the world when your society gets used to the idea. Eventually, in about 1,000 of your years, the only beings that will exist on your planet will be hybrids. You will become the 6th hybrid civilization. Once Earth becomes the 6th hybrid civilization, then all 6 hybrid civilizations will begin a process of blending together to become the 7th hybrid race. That's what's going on in a nutshell.
Okay. No,
Does that help?
It does. Thank you, Bashar.
You are welcome.